Welcome to Headlight Revolution, where we go over some of the latest and greatest lighting technology. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install the brand new Morimoto 4Banger in the fog light on this Subaru. So let's get started. First things first, there's two pod lights that you need to be aware of. The entry level, which Morimoto calls the NCS pod, they use Nichia chips and it's super bright, has the same beam pattern as their higher end model, the HXB or HX Boost. They use an OSRAM chip. Those things are stupid bright. And if you get the beam pattern that is a white wide version, it is the brightest one that we have ever tested here at Headlight Revolution. Now the NCS and the HXB both come in three different beam patterns. They have the wide beam pattern, they have a combo beam pattern, and they have a spotlight beam pattern. All three beam patterns are great. However, the one that decimates all is the wide version. 80% or more of our customers buy the white wide version, so that is definitely something to consider, especially if you're gonna mount it in something like a fog light. Now, if you wanna see how these pod lights stack up against the rest of the competitors out there, Chris Nelson does an in-depth review where he compares these against Style Dynamics, Rigid Industries, and so on. So if you wanna see how he came to the conclusion of these being the best, be sure to watch that video. Now, all of these pod lights and all the driving beam patterns come with either an amber version or a white version. So the higher end OSRAM chips that are used in the HXB 4Bangers, those are a more yellow look. And when you use the NCS 4Bangers, they look a little bit more amber. That's because the NCS uses those Nichia chips. And Nichia chips, they do come in a yellow, whereas the OSRAM chips do not come in a yellow. One thing to note, in all of our testing, the amber versions always came in slightly less than the white versions. That's because the light passing through that yellow lens, it loses a little bit of its luminosity. Since the NCS chip, that entry-level 4Banger, uses a yellow chip passing through the yellow lens, it doesn't quite lose as much lumens. So that is something to consider. Now, as far as street legalities go, that NCS chip, if you do mount it at a -3° aim, it does become compliant with the latest SAE F3 regulations. Unfortunately, the HXB is not street legal because it's so dang bright. And it's up to you to decide what's more important for your build. Now, what about the reliability? With all of the testing that we have done so far, we have not had any issues. They have an IP69K rating, which means they're totally waterproof. Also, they have a limited lifetime warranty, so they've got to be pretty good. As far as dimming down goes, when you guys are driving at over 4.5 miles an hour, you actually don't lose as much loss of light as you will see in some of our testing or in our other videos. So be sure to note that they don't actually lose but 8% of the brightness when you're driving over 4.5 miles per hour. The last thing to note about these 4Bangers real quick is that they have about a 30% smaller footprint than that of all of the competitors out there. So if you're mounting them in, say, one of the custom brackets on the front bumper in any of your vehicles, they're gonna fit so much better, like an OEM Plus look. So enough of the pod light review, let's get to the install. The one that I chose for this Subaru behind me is the yellow wide beam pattern, and it's the entry level, the NCS. That's gonna give us a really cool contrast to the blue color that's on this car. It's all up to you on what kind you want. So first thing we're gonna do is actually remove two of the top T10 bolts on this pod light. The reason we're gonna remove these bolts is because we're gonna install one of these metal brackets. So let's go ahead and remove these two bolts. The cool thing about these brackets is that they're totally from Morimoto. They are vehicle specific kits, so they work perfectly and fit properly. All right, with those removed, go ahead and take the longer screws that are in that kit and that metal retainer here. This piece is gonna go on up like this. Go ahead and place that on top. It should sit very nicely, and then go ahead and install those longer screws, the T10 screws. So both of your bolts are in. Now go ahead and take that little black plastic piece, and we're gonna slide that into the metal bracket here. Just clips in, just like that. Now go ahead and grab that bracket. We're gonna route the wiring through this bracket, just like this. And it should sit like this. So this hole right here is gonna line up with that black plastic piece you just put in that metal bracket. Go ahead and give it a push, and it should seat properly on both sides. Once it's rested in there, we're gonna go ahead and take your spring. We're gonna put that in between. It should look like that. Now go ahead and take that bigger bolt that came in the kit. We're gonna slide that in. This is a 4mm Allen wrench. We're just gonna tighten it down. This is the adjustment screw, so we can take it off and adjust it later to make sure we get our height levels adjusted properly. Now we can go ahead and put that front face of this bracket on. Go ahead and sandwich these together. And in the kit, it comes with 4 other bolts. Let's go ahead and put those in. These bolts are the T10 as well. Go ahead and tighten them down. And do the same for all 4. And just like that, your pod light is in the Subaru bracket. Now, just because we're up here, let's go ahead with the wiring here. This right here is to connect to your factory Subaru wiring. It's got a Deutsch connector on one side, and then it's got your factory plug on the other. It's a waterproof seal. It's gonna be in your fog lights, so it's gonna be getting a lot of rain and sleet. There you are. The hard part is done. Now go ahead and do the exact same thing on the driver's side, and then follow me over. We're gonna install it on the Subaru. Now let's go ahead and replace that fog light with this pod light from Morimoto. What we're gonna have to do is turn this wheel so you can reach your hand up here after you pull back the fender liner. We're gonna do the passenger side. I will admit, the driver's side is a little bit more difficult because you got that windshield washer fluid container over there. It is still possible to reach your hand up there and put this in its place. The only reason I'm doing it on this side is it's easier to film. So let's go ahead and turn your wheel and pull back that fender liner. Once your wheel is turned, go ahead and take your pry tool and remove some of these push pins so that you can reach your hand up in here. There's one on the bottom, there's one up here, and one right here. With all those push tabs removed, you can go ahead and pull back this fender liner. There's 2 Phillips screws we need to remove. They're on the right side on the passenger side, and the 2 screws are on the left side for the driver's side. Reach up there with the Phillips, remove those 2 screws, and the whole housing can come loose. Screws are removed, go ahead and remove that housing. All you're gonna do is pull it to the right and twist it out. And there you go. On the back side of this, they already have the GTR Lighting Ultra 2 bulb, which is a really good bulb if you're gonna put this in your fog light. However, he wanted to go ahead with the brand new 4Banger pods. So we're gonna take these out and install our new pods that we just put together. Make sure you unplug this bulb. As I unplug the bulb, here is the factory connector. We're gonna go ahead and plug in our 4Banger housing. All right, let's go ahead and slide this housing in. I'm gonna go wiring first. Go ahead and plug that in, make sure it's nice and tight, and you'll hear a click. Take the pod light, we're gonna be angling it in, and then twist. That fits so nicely. Now go ahead and take those screws and reinstall them. Tighten both of those down. Now with those 2 screws tightened, go ahead, flip that car around, find any wall, and adjust them where you want height-wise. Again, to make it an SAE compliant, it needs to be leveled at a -3° aim. When the alignment's done, put all those push tabs back in and take it out to see just how much brighter these are than your stock fog lights. Now I have to admit, the smaller profile of that Morimoto 4Banger fits perfectly inside these Subaru housings. If you want to get a set, they're now at headlightrevolution.com. Just type in your year, make, and model, and we'll show you exactly what you need. Also, we have a lot of other lighting that we recommend for this car. We do a lot of testing here, from side markers to LED turn signals. So if you want to check that out, be sure to look on the website as well. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.